Welcome to Loud History. Today we explore the life of Katherine of Aragon, a woman whose strength and faith shaped the course of English history. Katherine of Aragon, born Catalina, entered the world on December 16, 1485, in Alcalá de Henares, a small town near Madrid, Spain. She was the youngest daughter of two of Europe's most powerful monarchs, Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabella I of Castile. Known as the Catholic monarchs, her parents united Spain through their strategic marriage. In 1492, they completed the Reconquista by defeating the Moors in Granada and funded Christopher Columbus's voyage, ushering in the age of exploration. Katherine was born into this era of upheaval and glory, not just as a princess, but as a symbol of royal power and unity. From an early age, Katherine was groomed for greatness. Her education surpassed that of most women of her time. She studied Latin, Greek philosophy, music theology, and history. Fluent in Spanish, French, and Latin, she corresponded with Renaissance scholars. Her mother, Isabella, a strong and intelligent woman, instilled in her a belief in women's roles in politics and religion. Katherine grew up with a deep sense of duty, loyalty, and Catholic faith qualities that would define her life. At the age of 3, her parents arranged her marriage to Arthur, Prince of Wales, the eldest son of Henry VII of England. This political alliance aimed to strengthen the fledgling Tudor dynasty. Henry VII, having seized the throne after the Wars of the Roses, needed a powerful ally like Spain to counter France. For Ferdinand and Isabella, the marriage expanded Spain's influence in Europe. In 1501, at 15, Katherine left Spain for England, carrying the hopes of both kingdoms. On November 14, 1501, Katherine married Arthur at Old St. Paul's Cathedral in London. The wedding was a grand affair attended by English and Spanish nobility, symbolizing the union of two dynasties. Katherine's dowry of 200,000 crowns underscored the political commitment, but joy was short-lived. A few months later, Katherine and Arthur were sent to Ludlow Castle in Wales. In early 1502, both fell ill with the sweating sickness, a deadly disease. Katherine survived, but Arthur died on April 2, 1502, leaving her a widow at 16. Arthur's death shocked both England and Spain. Henry VII, unwilling to lose the Spanish alliance, considered marrying Katherine to his younger son Henry, who would later become Henry VIII. However, church law forbade marrying a brother's widow without a papal dispensation. Ferdinand also did not want to lose influence in England. Katherine found herself in a difficult position, living in poverty for 7 years, selling her jewelry to survive, yet never abandoning her belief that she would become Queen of England. After Arthur's death, Katherine of Aragon's future became uncertain. At just 16, she was a widow in a foreign land. Henry VII, the King of England, did not want to return her substantial dowry to her father Ferdinand, as it would jeopardize the valuable alliance with Spain. Yet he also did not want Katherine to return to Spain, where she might remarry and take her influence elsewhere. Thus, Katherine was kept in England, living in limbo, neither recognized as the Princess of Wales nor as a future queen. For the next 7 years, from 1502 to 1509, Katherine lived in poverty and obscurity. She had to sell her jewelry and personal belongings to cover daily expenses and maintain her small household. Her father, Ferdinand, was preoccupied with wars in Italy and could offer little assistance. Katherine wrote letters to her parents pleading to return to Spain, but received no positive response. She felt abandoned but never lost her royal dignity. During this time, she devoted herself to prayer and study, strengthening her Catholic faith. In 1509, everything changed. Henry VII died, and his second son, Henry VIII, ascended the throne at 17. Henry VIII was a young, handsome, athletic, and ambitious man. Unlike his father, he was not bound by old political agreements. He was free to choose his wife, and he chose Catherine. There were several reasons for this choice. Firstly, Catherine was an educated, beautiful princess with ties to Spain, which Henry VIII wished to maintain. Secondly, Henry VIII may have genuinely cared for Catherine. In a letter to his father, he once wrote that he loved Catherine more than any other woman. On June 11th, 1509, Henry VIII and Catherine were married at Greenwich Church. The wedding was relatively private, lacking the grandeur of her marriage to Arthur. However, on June 24th, they were crowned together at Westminster Abbey in a magnificent ceremony. At 23, Catherine finally became Queen of England, after 7 years of waiting and hardship. In the early years of their marriage, Henry VIII and Catherine shared a close relationship. Catherine was not only his wife but also his advisor. Fluent in Latin, she assisted Henry with diplomatic matters and even served as regent when he went to war in France in 1513. During this time, Catherine demonstrated her leadership skills. When Scotland invaded England, she rallied the troops and sent them to battle. After the victory at the Battle of Flodden, she sent Henry a piece of the Scottish King James IV's cloak as a trophy. However, happiness was fleeting. Catherine faced numerous tragedies in childbearing. She was pregnant at least 6 times, but only one child survived Mary, born on February 18, 1516. Her other children died young or were miscarried. This placed immense pressure on Catherine, as Henry VIII desperately desired a male heir to secure the Tudor dynasty. Nevertheless, throughout the first decade of their marriage, Henry VIII remained faithful to Catherine. He respected her as a wife and queen, but as Catherine entered her 30s, her health began to decline due to multiple pregnancies and childbirths. Henry, still youthful and energetic, started seeking entertainment elsewhere. His affairs with court ladies became more frequent, yet Catherine maintained her dignity and never publicly criticized her husband. Everything changed in the mid-1520s when Anne Boleyn, a young and alluring lady, appeared at court. Unlike Henry's previous mistresses, Anne refused to become his lover and skillfully kept her distance, making Henry increasingly infatuated. Catherine recognized the threat from Anne and tried to maintain her position, but she could not prevent the change in Henry's heart. In 1527, Henry VIII decided to annul his marriage to Catherine. He cited biblical reasons, claiming their marriage was invalid because Catherine had been his brother's wife. Henry quoted Leviticus 20:21, stating that marrying a brother's wife was sinful and would result in no children. However, Catherine firmly opposed this. She insisted that her marriage to Arthur had never been consummated, and therefore she was Henry's lawful wife. The legal and political battle lasted for years, with Catherine refusing to accept the annulment. She received support from many in the court and the public, but Henry VIII was determined to achieve his goal. In 1533, Henry married Anne Boleyn, and Catherine was stripped of her title as queen, exiled to remote castles, and forbidden from seeing her daughter Mary. Catherine died on January 7, 1536, at Kimbolton Castle, still steadfast in her belief that she was the rightful Queen of England. Her legacy lived on through her daughter Mary Tudor, who later became the first Queen of England, and through the historical changes her marriage to Henry VIII brought about, including England's break from the Roman Catholic Church. After Henry VIII publicly announced his intention to annul his marriage to Catherine in 1527, a protracted legal and political battle ensued. Henry invoked the Bible, specifically Leviticus 20:21, to justify the annulment arguing that marrying his brother's wife was sinful and would result in no children. However, Catherine resolutely opposed this, asserting that her marriage to Arthur had never been consummated, making her Henry's lawful wife. This legal battle was not just a personal matter, but an international one. Pope Clement VII, under pressure from Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor and Catherine's nephew, refused to grant Henry the annulment. This frustrated Henry and ultimately led to his break from the Roman Catholic Church, the establishment of the Church of England, and his self-appointment as its head. Throughout this process, Catherine received strong support from the English public. Many viewed her as the rightful queen and opposed Henry's marriage to Anne Boleyn. She also had the backing of several nobles and scholars, including Thomas More and John Fisher, who were later executed by Henry for refusing to recognize his new marriage. Catherine's steadfastness in defending her title and rights was unwavering. She refused to accept the annulment, even if it meant living in poverty and exile. She continued to call herself the Queen of England and refused to acknowledge Anne Boleyn as Henry's wife. In a letter to Henry, she wrote, "I am your lawful wife, and I will never relinquish that title." Catherine died on January 7, 1536, at Kimbolton Castle, still firm in her convictions. She was buried at Peterborough Abbey, not as a queen but as a widowed princess. Nevertheless, her legacy endured through her daughter Mary Tudor, who became England's first queen, and through the historical shifts her marriage to Henry VIII precipitated. Catherine's steadfastness is not just a tale of love and betrayal, but a story of willpower and faith. Following Katherine of Aragon's death on January 7, 1536, her legacy lived on not only through her daughter Mary Tudor, but also through the profound changes her marriage to Henry VIII brought to England. Catherine was more than a betrayed queen. She was a symbol of determination, faith, and willpower. She altered the course of English history, and her impact is still felt today. Mary Tudor Catherine, and Henry VIII's only surviving child, was born on February 18th, 1516. After her mother's death, Mary was stripped of her princess title and forced to serve as a lady-in-waiting to her half-sister, Elizabeth, daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. However, after Henry VIII's death and the early demise of his only son, Edward VI, Mary ascended to the throne in 1553, becoming England's first queen. Mary ruled with the mission of restoring her mother's honor and returning England to Catholicism. She officially recognized Catherine as Queen of England, reversed the religious reforms of her father and brother, and married Philip II of Spain to strengthen ties with Spain and honor her mother's legacy. However, her reign was tumultuous, and her persecution of Protestants earned her the nickname Bloody Mary. Despite this, Mary always saw herself as the guardian of the faith her mother had upheld. The marriage between Catherine and Henry VIII was not just a personal tragedy, but the direct cause of the English Reformation. When the Pope refused to annul the marriage, Henry broke from the Roman Catholic Church, established the Church of England, and centralized religious and political power, paving the way for absolutism in England. This event permanently altered English history, leading to centuries of religious and political conflict. Though Catherine did not directly participate in these decisions, her steadfastness forced Henry to make radical choices. Katherine of Aragon is remembered not only as a queen, but as a symbol of resilience. She has been depicted in numerous literary works, films, and art throughout the centuries. In literature, she appears in William Shakespeare's play Henry VIII, portrayed as a loyal and virtuous wife In film and television series like The Tudors and The Spanish Princess, highlight her strength and dignity. In art, portraits and monuments often show her with a Bible symbolizing her unwavering faith. Every year on the anniversary of her death, red and gold roses, colors of Spain, are placed at her tomb in Peterborough Cathedral as a tribute to the queen who never relinquished her title. In conclusion, Katherine of Aragon was not merely a victim of betrayal, but a woman who changed English history through her determination and faith. Her legacy endures through her daughter Mary Tudor and the profound changes her marriage brought to England. Katherine stands as a symbol of willpower, loyalty, and resilience. A true queen, not just in title, but in spirit.